Let's go Legends. Thor might be on his last legs in the MCU, and the end could be coming right now in Avengers Doomsday. Is there going to be a Thor 5? Is Marvel going to turn the character into an entity, or are they going to swap Chris Hemsworth for a younger bloke and reboot Thor in the MCU? Let's suss out the best options for Thor right now. Righto. Marvel has two tracks. Either they give Thor a heroic send-off, or they do a full reboot. Scrap the lot. Chris Hemsworth is out, and a young buck comes in to play Thor. Ah, but Chris Hemsworth isn't old. He's not old now, mate, but in the long run, he will be. Marvel can't keep the same actors forever in the MCU, it's just not on. That's why at some point he needs a decent finish. He might come back as another character, but the Thor currently in the MCU needs an ending. So yeah, his days might be numbered. To be honest, Thor went through a soft reboot in the hands of Taika Waititi, and it was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it? He cut his hair, lost Mjolnir, got his eye plucked out, got lightning powers without needing the hammer. Look, I actually liked Thor, Ragnarok, but for the character it wasn't great. It drifted way too far from who he actually is in the comics. It got all spacey, hardly any Nordic vibes left. His mythology just started disappearing. It was so off that in Avengers, Infinity War, Marvel just ignored all those changes and gave practically everything back to Thor. Gave him a god-tier weapon, an eye, and dialed back the jokes a bit. Actually, Infinity War Thor is the best Thor in the MCU to date. Absolute unit, proper hard nut. But that phase didn't last long. In Endgame, he went back to being a parody, and it all went downhill in Thor. Love and Thunder. That flick is one of the worst things I've ever seen. Marvel wrecked Thor, wrecked Jane Foster's arc, and absolutely wasted Gore. Gore is an incredible character, the God Butcher, and they turned him into a complete muppet, an insult to the character and to Christian Bale. Currently, in the MCU, the Thor we've got is this Love and Thunder version, so it's a bad Thor, Marvel knows it's a bad Thor, and they're definitely going to change his style. In Avengers, Doomsday, the heroes are going to lose. That's a fact. The bloke who's going to flog everyone is Doctor Doom, and this could be the end of Thor. In the comics, Thor and a squad faced the Beyonders to try and stop the end of the multiverse. It was a heroic moment, giving his life to save everyone. Even if Marvel doesn't bring in the Beyonders, they can adapt it and put Doctor Doom himself as the main threat. In the comics, Thor and Hyperion are the last survivors of the group and die in an epic scrap against thousands of Beyonders. In the cinema, the best way for Thor to wrap up his life in the MCU, at least in the multiverse phase, is for him to be killed in Avengers. Doomsday. I reckon there's a massive chance he dies fighting, but that doesn't mean he's out of the MCU for good. Most likely, Doctor Doom is going to create Battleworld. In Avengers, Secret Wars, we're going to see this world made of pieces of the multiverse. In this world, the police force is made up of heaps of Thor variants. The Thor Corps. I reckon Chris Hemsworth comes back in this universe as part of that battle force. There'd be heaps of versions of him. This is where they should introduce a possible reboot. They might use various actors to play different Thors, and one of them could be Marvel's next Thor. In the comics, there's a younger Thor on Battleworld who takes up the hammer. So, we'd have the epic end of Chris Hemsworth's Thor in Doomsday, and then a new Thor would rock up in Secret Wars. When the reboot happens, the Thor that sticks around is the new variant, with a younger actor. Another chance is Thor recreating his own pantheon of gods, creating a new Asgard off-Earth and making space for a new era of gods within the MCU. If we look at the comic Thor, The Return of Gods, he comes back after Ragnarok and recreates Asgard using the Odin Force, not just swinging the hammer. This is the Thor that could come back, taking the position of a god and not needing to be an active Avenger anymore. If Thor dies in Doomsday, Marvel could leave his Mjolnir on Earth. Then Marvel can adapt Donald Blake, who is Thor's alter ego. This Donald Blake could use the hammer and become Thor himself in the next movies. It'd be a new actor, but with the character's essence. For me, that's the best way to swap the actor and give Thor a dignified end in the MCU. The rumors floating around are that Thor 5 got the green light, but without Taika Waititi. Thank Christ. Chris Hemsworth himself said that if there's a fifth movie, Thor needs to be reinvented. It has to be a completely different tone. The hope is that he goes back to delivering a Thor the public likes, that tough-as-nails version. Thor's mythology makes it easy when it's time to swap the actor. I reckon Chris Hemsworth's days are numbered. At most, he'll turn into an entity or a god of his own pantheon and exist as a myth in the MCU, but overall, the most likely outcome is a proper reboot. Now drop a comment down below. What's your favorite Thor movie? Do you want Chris Hemsworth to stay in the role, or is it time for a Thor reboot? I'm already checking the comments. Don't take off without subbing. Cheers, legends. Hooroo!